Welcome to Monday Re Tsene with Well Life Inc. I think you are now well acquainted with the transition that we have made. So please don't be lost. Wherever you see the logo Well Life Inc., it's still us. So Pretoria Psychologist is now Well Life Inc. With that, as we end off this August month, what in the Southern Hemisphere or in South Africa we term a month of women. And I think the three speakers before me have given us good nuggets. Mpo talking about the toolkit, and obviously the theme for the month has been taking stock, and Zintle coming with the theme, which is taking stock. And then Kamohelo then ending off with just self-introspection. I will be talking about taking stock in the context of reflecting. Actually, this started, the idea came from about 3 weeks ago, I went to see a psychologist. And because I'm a psychologist myself, our worlds tend to be a little bit small. So I then went from a far land as for here, because most of the Praetorian psychologists are my colleagues or people that I know from other spaces that I've worked in. And when I started my session in that particular session with the new psychologist, if you will, the person asked me, why I'm there. And I said, every year, around my birthday, which my birthday will be in 3 days' time, around my birthday, I just love to just reflect on life. Sometimes our lives can be in pieces and we're not necessarily sure, or we don't have a good or a full picture of what's happening. And I also said I just want to use the space to vent. There was nothing in particular that I wanted to resolve or that I wanted to work through. But as it goes, in any session in therapy, it was a very powerful session where I did not expect to actually unpack particular things. I thought, I'm just coming to reflect, just taking stock basically as my birthday is upcoming, just to see where I am. And it could be that you are in that particular time in your life where you are feeling like, there's different elements to yourself or different pieces in your life, and maybe you're not sure how to bring them all together. A reflexive journey is a very important journey to embark on. You don't necessarily need to go to a psychologist to do that, to reflect. There's different ways in which I will mention in a moment in this video. But reflecting does not necessarily mean that you have to be in a crisis for you to reflect. It does not mean that you have to be dealing with particular pathology or maybe a difficulty. It could be just that, as we're saying in this August month, we have been looking at taking stock. And for me, it was wonderful to just be in that session, to just look at those different pieces, as I said, my family life, my career, my work life, my business, how I'm raising my kids, and how different things are impacting on my well-being, as to say, and as I said, many other elements or, themes came out of that session to actually see how those things were impacting on my well-being, be it positively or even negatively. But I was glad that I did that to be able to reflect. As I mentioned, you don't necessarily need to go to a therapist, to take stock. You can use what we call a reflexive journal or reflexive journaling, which helps you to see, what has worked, what has not worked. I was with a mother this afternoon in a session who said, my child will provoke me to anger, and I will also give her what she is looking for. And I said, how has that worked for you? And actually she paused and thought, as I'm giving her what she wants, which is basically poison, it's actually going to come back to me because I will have to deal with those consequences. So in the session, we were able to reflect on that. And you can do that in journaling to say, what has worked, what what has not worked, what can I do differently, what can I do better, do I have capacity to do better, or do I need to mobilize certain support or even skills to be able to deal with a particular thing. And I think that's where I've also found myself to say, okay, what other resources do I need to have, or do I need to mobilize so that I can cope with what I am facing a little bit better? Or do I even have capacity to take on more, as I get invitations, or as I get more work? Do I have capacity to do more or to take in more? And that can only happen when we are able to pause, take a deep breath, and then create that moment. As I mentioned, a reflexive journal, or being with a psychologist. Friends can also help you to say, where you are, because they might even make comments such as, oh, you are glowing, or oh, you look a particular way, because that can be telling in terms of maybe the stress. I was with friends on Sunday, and I said to them, you always see me in these pants because they are very comfortable. I don't need to think about it too much in terms of what to dress, but that is also telling of, because of being overwhelmed. For me, the easiest thing is to go to something that I know it works. I don't have to figure out if I'm gonna look good or not in that particular thing. But then with that relationship with people that know you very well, that have walked a journey with you, they can see when you have changed, they can see when you are not yourself, and they can reflect on that. The other conversation that I also had a couple of days ago, I was, having neck spasms, and it was the first time it was that severe. And when I was just commenting to the person next to me, they were like, oh, it's been a long time since you have exercised. Actually, when did you last exercise? By the way, I got an injury in a marathon back in April. I've been sorting that out, but I've not been able to go back to the proper and regular exercise that I've been doing. And lo and behold, fortunately, because they reflected that the 2 consecutive days after they made that comment, then I was able to do exercises that helped me with those neck spasms, which then by Saturday, those neck spasms were not there anymore, which then says that in that conversation, when somebody reflected that I've not been exercising for a long time, then I could then see the source of where those neck spasms were coming from. Maybe they are coming from a stressful life period that I'm in. But in them saying that you are no longer doing what used to help you to manage the stress, it was helpful for me to then go back to what helps as a means of, going to that stress. It could also be, gaining new skills. I think in embarking on a course, gaining new skills, being interested in something new, it can help us to reflect, to say, okay, maybe I like this new me, or I like doing this. It could be painting, it could be sculpting, so different things that helps us to maybe connect with a different part of ourselves, which then helps us to reflect, to say, oh, okay, I relax a little bit more when I'm doing this, or this stresses me out. I mean, I tried knitting myself because I have had that repetitive action of knitting calms you down, but because of other issues that I will not even say on this video, I gave that up a long time ago and early enough for me not to be frustrated in that activity. But somebody else, it could bring that calming effect to them, where else for me it's something different. With that, as we close off the month of August, and in the next month, us looking at life seasons, I'm saying take that moment, just reflect a little bit before we go into the springtime in the southern hemisphere, before we go into the autumn in the northern hemisphere, to say what has been of me maybe in the past 9 months. What have I observed? What are the things that I think I can still handle or can still go on with? Or what are the things that I think I need to move away? It could be drawing yourself or caving in. One of my clients actually is going on a me and him, we called it some form of a retreat, where he's going to retreat from social life, from any other thing other than work, so that he can focus on himself and reflect on his own journey in the next 3 months that are remaining in the year, so that he can also self-develop and self-improve. So I'm challenging you and saying, take that moment, pause. Whatever your pause looks like, it can look different from one person to another, but you need to then just have that reflexive moment to say, where am I going? Am I still on track? Am I off track? And if I'm off track, what resources do I need to go back on that track? With that, this is me, Nkateko Ndalamahoro, signing out. This is Monday Re Tsene with Well Life Inc. See you in the next episode.